Hello, teachers, and welcome to Lesson Prep Time. I am Pastor Grant at Trinity Baptist in Findlay, Ohio, and we are on session 11 of our Explore the Bible series, making our way through the book of Matthew. Just a few more lessons in Matthew, and this is a very exciting one. This Matthew 24 comes from what we call the Olivet Discourse, and Jesus is teaching us about future things. This is Jesus' prophecy. In the Bible, we have Daniel, which gives us a lot of detail about future things. We have the book of Revelation, and so those are the most popular, and we get the most information about future things from that. But a very close number 3 is Matthew 24 and Jesus' teaching on future things. And of course, it's his return, and so we want to know what he has to say about the second coming, and that's what Matthew 24 is all about. And again, this is the end of his ministry. He is just a few days from the cross. He has already made his way back into Jerusalem with that triumphal entry. This is the Passion Week, and he is giving his disciples some very important details about his return. And they start off in Matthew chapter 24. The disciples ask him, when are these things going to be? When is the end of the world going to come? And so part of that's what Matthew 24 and Matthew 25 are really all about. Jesus giving his prophecy of his second coming. Now, in Matthew 24, we're not talking about the bulk of the chapter, where the lesson only is the last portion, the last several verses. But this is a little complicated, or a little bit of detail that we have to know. There are 2 ways that we talk about the second coming of Christ. There is one of talking about it in a very general sense, of talking about all of the events of Christ's second coming in one, as one whole event, and using second coming in that way. And so that's including, though, the rapture, the 7-year tribulation, the return of Christ to defeat the armies of the world and the Antichrist at Armageddon, then the 1,000-year reign of Christ, then a final battle with Satan. That big picture timeline of events we can call the second coming of Christ. Again, with different detailed events that, again, you get details in Daniel, Revelation, and also in Matthew 24. But then there are, like we say, there's details that we talk about. There are passages in the Bible that describe specifically the rapture. Specifically, we think of like 1 Thessalonians or 1 Corinthians 15. And so that's like the rapture, which many of us are thinking of. That at any moment we could be raptured out of here. Christ call his church home. Then you have the tribulation period, which we get, again, details from Daniel and Revelation. But then also here in Matthew 24, and I believe a bulk of what Jesus is describing in Matthew 24 is that the 7-year tribulation period, specifically the last 3.5 years, where he is talking about the Great Tribulation. And just for reference, that starts in Matthew 24, verse 15. He says, "When therefore you shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place. Whoso readeth, let him understand." There he is talking about that middle point of the tribulation period, where the Antichrist breaks his covenant with Israel. His covenant with Israel is the beginning of the tribulation. He breaks the covenant there at the middle and desecrates the temple. But then after that, basically all hell breaks loose on earth, and God is bringing out his full judgment on man and those who have rejected him and mankind's humanistic world. And so the rest of Matthew 24 is Jesus is describing the events of that last half of the tribulation. Then we get down to verse 36, where we're starting today, and contextually, Jesus is actually talking to saved people who will live through the tribulation period. We're going to see there's 3 points we're going to see today about being informed, being alert, and being faithful. So there's the context of immediately those people who are saints, people who are going to be saved through the tribulation. They're going to be there at the end of the tribulation when he comes. And so there's that immediate context. But there's also a general context that you get from prophecy that applies to all believers. And so all throughout the Bible, when prophecy is given, whether it was the Old Testament prophets or prophecy given through Christ or to John in Revelation or to Paul, there is the immediate audience that whoever they are writing to, but then also there are saints of all time, Christians to us today, and then there are the saints who are actually going to be alive when those prophecies are fulfilled. And so today we're going to get some points that will be applicable to us and to our students in our Sunday school classes from this general look at the return of Christ. So I hope that's clear. I hope we're not I've not lost you there. But the ultimate subject of this lesson is preparation, being prepared for future things. And when we talk about future things, we're talking about Christ's second coming. And our objective statement for the lesson is every person can be prepared for future things by committing to these 3 principles that we learn in Matthew 24. Principle number 1, we're going to find starting in verse 36. Principle number 1 is be informed. Let's read the verses there, starting in verse 36. But of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking and marrying, giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Then shall 2 be in the field, the one shall be taken, and the other left. The 2 women shall be grinding at the mill, the one shall be taken and the other left. The key verse there in that section is verse 39. It says, they knew not until the flood came. Again, you just go back to Noah. And in Genesis, Noah was a preacher of righteousness, and it took him over 100 years, 120 years to build the ark. He is proclaiming that God is going to send judgment. There's this huge boat that he is building that for a mark of salvation, a way to get away from the judgment of the flood. And the people didn't know. They did not know, verse 39. They knew not until the flood came that judgment was actually coming. And that's really the principle that Christ is teaching about his second coming. We need to be informed. Obviously, the Bible was full of prophecy of Christ's first return, that he would come and be born in Bethlehem, be born of a virgin, that he would be born lowly, ultimately he would die on a cross. And Christ, praise the Lord, 2,000 years ago, fulfilled all of those prophecies of his first coming. But there are also the prophecies of his second coming, and not coming as a lamb to die on the cross, but coming as a king to rule and to reign and to judge all who have rejected him. And so we need to be informed. Christ is going to return. And even in our modern world with cell phones and jumbo jets and busy schedules and vacations and sports games and kids' Little League baseball, all these things that just make us busy and focus on the here and now, we've got to remember, we've got to be informed. Christ is coming again. And so that's principle number 1. Principle number 2 is we've got to be alert. And so Jesus continues teaching in verse 42. He says, watch therefore, for you know not what hour your Lord doth come. But know this, that if the good man of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched and would not have suffered his house to be broken up. Therefore be ye also ready, for in such an hour as ye think not, the Son of Man cometh. And there the key verse is 44. Says, therefore be ye also ready. Be alert. Be ready. Know what God's word teaches about future things, about the end times. Be looking. Be living your life in a way that you are not caught off guard by the second coming. Then principle number 3 is be faithful. Be faithful. We want to be informed, we want to be alert, and we want to be faithful. Jesus goes on to talk about the wise servant. Who then is a faithful and wise servant, whom his Lord hath made ruler over his household, to give them meat in due season? Blessed is that servant whom his Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing. Verily I say unto you, that he shall make him ruler over all his goods. And if that evil servant shall say in his heart, My Lord delayeth his coming, and shall begin to smite his fellow servants, and to eat and to drink with the drunken, the Lord of that servant shall come in a day when he looketh not for him, and in an hour that he is not aware of, and shall cut him asunder, and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. There he's talking about the faithful servant. The faithful servant knows the master's away, knows that the master is going to return, and he lives his life with that expectation of the master's return. He's faithful. He doesn't want his master to return, find him wasting time, wasting the master's resources. He wants to be found a faithful servant. He doesn't let the excuse of, well, my master's delaying his return to keep him away from the work. He's a faithful servant. And that's really the message of Christ teaching us about his second coming. We need to be informed. We need to read our Bibles, know what it says about prophecy. We need to be alert, be watching. And as we are watching, we need to be busy doing the work he's called us to do. And most importantly, that's the Great Commission. Until Christ returns, we are to be making disciples of the nations, baptizing them, teaching them how to follow Christ, being witnesses in Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and the uttermost parts of the earth. Being busy, informing others, being alert, and being faithful till he comes. It's a great lesson. There's a ton that could be said about this. There's so much here when you begin to study prophecy. But again, we want to have that big picture overview, the second coming of Christ. We're not using this lesson to divide up all the different events through the rapture, the tribulation, the millennial kingdom. We're really just talking about, in that big way, that big context, how can you and I be ready for Christ's second coming? So I hope that helps. I hope you are informed, you're alert, and you want to be found faithful when Christ comes back. And if it's not today, and we're able to teach these lessons, I pray it'll be a blessed lesson for you guys and your students. God bless. Thanks.